Hello and welcome to Drakenmemoria. For those of you wondering what this is, well, it's Dungeons and Dragons, or more specifically, a group of people playing Dungeons and Dragons. So if this is not something you want to watch, well, too bad. We started, we're not going to change, and it's going to be the same thing next week, and the week after that, and so on. So, if that's not what you want to watch, well, depending on where you're watching.
Too bad, you started and you have to finish watching it.
Yeah, that's the same thing when you sit down to eat a meal. You have to finish it, even if
Or when you start the first episode of a Netflix binge.
Yeah.
Sorry, too late.
I like your joke better than where mine was going. So, if it's not something you want to watch, well, depending on where you're watching this, there's suggestion either to the right or left of your screen. If not, we're so very sorry, but you're stuck with us. But for everyone else, everyone that actually wants to be here, likes to be here, was hoping to be here, for any reason, other than shouting obscenities in the Discord. Hey, we already have someone, not in the Discord, in the chat, I mean. We already have someone writing things in the end of the chat. Cool. Well,
Save the obscenities for Call of Duty.
Or trying to play a battleground in World of Warcraft. So if you actually want to be here because you like it, welcome. It's a pleasure to have you with us. If you're new, welcome. If you're coming back from a future session, welcome back. And I believe that's it. Yeah, as always, I keep forgetting to send a reminder that we're actually playing right now to our very kind friend at Ikigai. Where is this one here? There we go. If you're from Ikigai because you actually wanted to be here without us needing it, I'm so sorry. I'm trying to pronounce it in a way that will fit for everyone.
No, I love the fact that you just keep rolling this die over and over again just to see what comes up.
Just go fast, see what comes out.
Yeah.
You know, eventually you get that natural 20. All right. So if you're actually from from that server, let's end all of your suffering. Welcome. It's a pleasure to have you with us. If not, well, too bad. I don't have a lot to say except that it's a pleasure to have you with us. Right. That's about it. Don't need the rain anymore. It's mostly to make sure that everyone knows that we're starting and to make a sound test. Alright. Well, unfortunately, audience did not finish the lyric of the song he promised us, so it will be for after Easter. We're so sorry.
Time Knights, going through space, but also time. They are the Time Knights.
But I also understand everything he's going through. I am also knee deep in Easter preparation because I'm sure that's why it wasn't done. It's because of Easter preparation.
Yeah. Sure.
All right. So, that's about it. That's everything we needed to say. If you like the rain that was falling, that was Ambient Mixer. A place where on the internet where you can make your own ambience, download ambience that other people have made. It's royalty free so long as you use it as a background for something and not as the main element of whatever you're streaming. You only have to pay when you download. Everything else is free about it. But Still, always read what's in small characters at the end of everything you buy, just to make sure. And that's about it. That's everything we had to say about this. So, let's get started with today's episode. So now imagine there's a very nice tune to it, and there's actually a few artists that have sent me likes on our Twitter. That's cool.
Be right back.
Okay. And maybe we're gonna get a better interface at one point, thanks to those. We'll have to see. But right now, you're gonna have to make do with us as the introduction. So. All right. Last episode. So, the party slowly recovered from its previous adventure. Stuck in a dream for nearly a week. Taking to check what had followed them from the dream and what did not. The party slowly reorganized itself. Sorry, there were no mirror. That's why. Slowly reorganized itself and quickly become thirsty for answers. Unfortunately, since they had all overslept, the bard who had told them the story of what they had just lived through was already gone. Frustrated, the party was forced to satisfy themselves.
I like doing that.
Well, one satisfied itself while everyone was waiting. The other ones were forced to satisfy themselves with long-range communication with the bard. And most of the answers were satisfactory, but they also left the party with even more questions than before. And so, after this brief conversation, the party accepted a brief respite from the world and went back to the relative safety of the garden. Very important.
Because they gotta clean their fridge.
And well, that's one of the reasons why I said relative safety. The other one being where they are getting this refrigerator cleaned. So, once there, they left their dimensional storage in the hands of very competent gnomes. Asked a few questions about what they had ordered, including... How shall I put this? Including Tobayashi's ball being prepared by a gnome, which everyone nicknamed You Goddamn Moron. That's a wordplay that's gonna come back and haunt him. But once all of that was done, they all decided to reconvene at the tavern, where audience had already started telling everyone present the brave deeds of what is slowly becoming known as the Time Knights. As I would...
Audience somehow already has pamphlets.
It's printed on the
Like
back of
campaign buttons.
It's printed on the back of its pamphlet about the dragons. You know, you unfold it and there's 3 pages about the dragons, and the back cover of the last one is about Time Knights.
When are we gonna get our uniforms?
Oh no.
Well, apparently Tobayashi is really good with everything that relates to making clothes.
Yeah, I already got my uniform.
So, pink is going to become the group's color now. Intriguing, intriguing.
Everyone wears pink. It's happening.
But just as everyone was entering, after leaving audience alone for a while and letting him decide the narrative of this incredible story they just lived through.
Alone, sure.
Well, it's not like you can actually say that this is not how the story unfolded. So, as Jorg, Tobiyashi, and Fisher entered the tavern and noticed that the audience was in the middle of this storytelling, Fisher heard something scratch from inside of its backpack. And this is exactly where we left off. With audience telling a tale and Fisher hearing his backpack growl. Since audience had already started, let's go with how you decided to tell the tale of your adventure.
Very well. Well, when I would have entered the tavern, I would have looked around to see who was in it. Knowing some of higher-end adventurers, a lot of gnomes, handful of dwarves and halflings, a few half-elves. You know, I would want to have got, everyone's attention. So I would have found probably a table somewhere in the middle of the tavern. And I would have quickly taken one of my, what do you call it? Eating things that,
Fork.
He's gonna start eating orbs?
that makes my voice super low.
One of those edible beads.
Yeah, those edible beads. Yeah. And I would have shouted out to the tavern, "Come, you all, hear my great tale of the adventures of the Time Knights."
All right.
See how many people responded.
Well, of course. Immediately you draw the attention of gnomes. Gnomes are always very interested in everything that relates to something like this. Halfling also actually very much enjoy a story at the end of the day. Well, it's a bit early for the end of the day, but like I said, a few halflings. Maybe a handful of dwarves, one or two half-elves. But you also notice that you drew the attention of a few adventurers which were inside of the tavern. Corinth, of course, the turtle, is there. Seems to very often be here. I get the feeling that he's getting a bit old, so his downtime are increasing between every adventure. He always seems to be here. You see Corvant, the half-orc, Amiali's half-brother. Demesalmusen, it's a team of human brother-sister. You've never struck a conversation with them, but you've heard of their name. And Calm, the gnomish arcane arbalist. The other one that you call the gunman. So right now, that's roughly everyone that pays attention to what you're saying. And of course, at least one warden is watching. They're always watching.
Okay. Well,
Always watching Wazowski.
I'll take the crowd. I'll be like, "Our tale begins in what many thought to be a dream, but we would soon learn was another time entirely. We were at a tavern not far from here, and when we fell asleep, we awoke upon a field. A different time, a different place, a different sky, or so we thought. We looked up, all of us around together, not sure of where we had been. And there, we saw a group of soldiers coming from the trees with guards, and in their midst, a beautiful lady. Kalina, we would learn, was her name, traveling. And so, of course, my normal, personable self, I walked to the party and I told them, I said, "Are you in need of help? What time is this? We are adventurers and we will do our best." And that is when we found out the truth. The truth was we had been returned to the war almost 1,000 years ago. The war between humanity and the eldritch horrors from beyond. And this group had been being chased by an army and was trying to reach the castle, the city of...
Bahanor.
Good, I'm blank. Thank you. Bahanor. Nearby. I'm not a trained bard, okay, I'm trying my best.
We were set upon by the Babadook.
City of Bahanor nearby, and I said, "Of course, we shall lend you our aid." And so we began our journey. We traveled far through many dangers, thirst through a maze of tunnels, dwarven and human, which I led us safely and quickly through.
While you're talking about the maze, you realize that a few more people joined in. There's Kazan and Kaudan, the two Dragonborn cousins, who've joined in from a higher level of the tavern, and Kaharthane, the construct that looks like a 5 foot tall knight. You know him a bit more because he gave a lot of missions to Amyali. Currently, she's not there, however, with him.
Unfortunate. It's alright, though. Make your best. Alright, first... Alright, I just finished off at the maze. But at the end of the maze, there lay a monster of great power and horror. It was a troll with a head that floated above his shoulders, that could disappear from this plane in reality and attack at any moment. "Sit back," said I to the soldiers, for I did not want them to be harmed. And there we fought a raging battle, but I struck it down with my lightning breath and split its skull upon that ground of past. We spent the night in the cave, reveling in our victory, but knowing soon we would have trouble upon us. For the next day we set out upon a marsh. It was hot, it was sweaty, our feet stuck in the mud. There was danger all around. We could see the army of thousands, millions of enemies, eldritch horrors coming from behind us, the sight of which you have never seen. The soldiers were in fear, but I rallied them. I said, we must make it to the city. We must protect this lady. And so they followed. There we reached a bridge. Water beneath. Danger loomed on the horizon, for as we crossed, a many-headed monster rose from the depths, a hydra. Again I told the soldiers, "Rush across, this is not the fight for you." And so they did, leading Kalina safely to the other side. The hydra attacked us with poison breath. Many of our party nearly fell, but we were able to strike it down. Fish, I don't know if Fisher's here. Fisher would be here at this point, actually, I think.
Probably. While you're talking about this fight, Fisher, Tobiashi, and Jorg probably would enter the tavern at the same time as Kavin, the dwarf. And from another door, you'd also see a little group coming in, but at the center of this group, you notice Temptress is also accompanying this little group of gnomes and halflings.
Alright, and I'll be like, and Fisher, our mighty warrior with flaming sword in hand, struck off the heads and cauterized the wounds, finally making the hydra fall. Thus we continued on the next day, hope in our hearts, for we were soon to reach Bahanor. But there, to our horror, we saw the city had already been surrounded by enemies, camps upon camps surrounding it. How were we to break through? But you see, I am not just a man of my arm, I am a man of the mind as well. And there I devised a strategy to break through the lines. We sent out the soldiers in skirmisher formation to either side to break their formation. And so we were able to, with stealth and cunning, make our way through the lines and make a mad dash for the door. Chased by beholders and other such horrors, we thought we were done for, and yet there we first laid our eyes upon. I need to go to my notes again.
The dragon.
I want to imagine
This is the
audience
long note
pulls out.
card.
I want
Gotta
to
reopen
audience pulls out like a little pamphlet.
Discreetly looking at
second.
notes you wrote.
Yeah.
Make a sleight of hand check. See if anyone noticed that you're looking at your notes.
All right, that'll be a. Yeah, that won't be great. 8. There's a lot of rustling in paper.
A lot of people notice that you're trying to discreetly look at notes that you wrote down.
There we came upon Zadkan, the White Dragon, the protector of the city. He struck out with a massive radiant beam that incinerated all before him. And with that distraction, us, Kalina, one soldier, and one guard were able to make it through the gates. All else perished. Upon entering the city, we spent a few days there where we learned about the great wonders of Bahanor from the past. We learned Kalina, in fact, granted us many gifts. I was knighted. Our Toby, appointed Toby, got that fine cape. It's very lovely. Fisher found this hat. And many
Put it on.
and many other such treasures as found. However, there was one thing I must tell you that happened in the city. For in my dreams, not only were we faced with dangers from before, but dangers in the night as well. I ran into a dark god, Shadow, with light inside, and he tried to break my will and bend me to my knee. But I stood firm. I told him no, I would not submit. And there I reached out to the power of the sun, the light, and it embraced me and it struck back. And the god fell before us and I awakened. And there we had our final battle upon the walls of Bahanor against a blade master.
Just as you start saying this story, you notice that 3 others have just entered the room. Neisa, the elven world-renowned bard, enters the room. You notice that she's talking to Connie, the half-elf druid that you met a few weeks ago. And from the ground level, you notice Kor entering the room, just as you say that you have faced the Blade Master.
He had been infected by the eldritch horrors, and he was strong. He had taken a potion that made him immune to resistant to our damages, and his blade struck with powerful blows every time he hit. Many of us nearly fell, but I'll pull from my back the broken blade of the Blade Master. In the end, we were able to defeat him and save that part of the city where we awakened again in the tavern with these items, not knowing the future or what had happened to the great city. Thank you for listening to my tale of the Time Knights.
Just start slow clapping.
Well, actually, that was a pretty good story. I'd say make performance with advantage.
All right.
Yeah, and Randy was providing visuals the whole time, so.
Well, I can't give double advantage.
I'm just saying if there wasn't already.
Nat
a
20,
good
baby! 22!
Oh, there you go.
All right. Well, although you had a few moments where everyone would notice that you looked at your notes, that was a very well told story. You managed also with your the way that you move throughout all of this, the way that you gestured, and perfectly in sync with Remy's special effect. Probably a bit inspired by the other performance, the Silver Dragon Bard, the Silver Dragonborn Bard did. It is a masterful performance. You are convinced you could not have done better.
Take notes, Nahisa. No.
Although you know from inside that you've seen better bards. A half-elven woman that you gave nearly all the money you had at that time. And Nasa, who completely enchanted the entire room the first day she was here. You know that for someone who wasn't trained as a bard, you did a pretty damn good job. So of course, a lot of people clap. You get a few free drinks shoved your way for the impressive story and how everything was so convincing. And, you know, you even hear one of the gnomes approaching you saying, that was exactly like you see in the book. Now I know for sure that people don't talk the same way that it's written in books. They talk the way you do. And then they write the books. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Of course.
Everyone is impressed. Like I said, it's natural 20, and even taking into consideration you're not a bard and I don't believe you have proficiency in performance. Like I said, for someone who is not a bard, your tale will be told throughout the garden. And who knows? Since they are extra-dimensional travelers, maybe throughout the universe.
Hell yeah.
So, Time Knights becomes a permanent fixture in the universe.
Alright, back to Fisher's box. Real interest.
Meanwhile, the whole time you're telling the story, we're just listening to the screeching sound. I didn't even notice because you were so good.
Yeah, only Fisher noticed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I take out the box.
The box is still wrapped in all of the silk that had been used to cocoon it and quarantine it.
Also, I think I'd go and set it down on the table that audience had pulled aside.
Well, knowing audience, it was probably not a table, but literally the center stage. The ground
Fair
floor
enough.
has a stage where people can perform. So
In that case, I'd just find an empty table if there was one.
okay,
Yeah,
of course.
and
All right.
try to unwrap it, and then remember that I believe there's no visible end to the silk
Yeah,
wrapping. Yeah.
exactly.
Hey, Toby,
Yeah.
I need your help
Okay.
with
what
silk
do you need help
stuff.
Okay. All right. Just show me it. I want to see it. What kind of silk do we got here?
It's the fancy stuff you were really, really hounding after.
Oh yeah. Okay. What would I know about this silk? Like, what does it? Have I seen any silk like this before?
I'd let you roll Arcana with this, especially since you have this predisposition toward magical
17.
silk. 17, all right.
The answer is literally in your dreams.
It's the silk of your dreams. Well, you'd say that there's something slightly familiar, in the sense that, okay, you recognize it looks like silk. It's beautifully crafted, although it's showing a little bit of age. When you pull on it, it gives only for a fraction of a moment until it feels like it becomes hardened. When you let it go, it just go back to its normal size. So the size of it adjusts. You recognize there's something arcane about it. Honestly, you've seen how the robes of your master works, and you'd say that this feels like someone tried to copy this. It's not a perfect match, but it's not a bad one. But this is also a bad news, because you know that the robes of your master, they consider their robe as if it was sentient, talking about it as if it was a friend. Meaning it has very interesting properties, and it is not actually silk. It just feels like silk.
Okay. Well, Fisher, it doesn't look like this is really silk, because I should know. I know silk. It's a thing. It's a thing. But
That's why I asked.
what we're dealing with here is sentient, living fabric, basically. And are we looking to keep it, or are we just gonna take it off? What do you want to do with it?
Well, I was looking to just take it off, but if it's sentient, that
Well, you can't confirm that it is. You know that it's an attempt
it's like-
at copying it. And if they did it
It's
perfectly,
like,
it might be sentient. But if they did not copy it perfectly, it's probably the equivalent of a construct. Just fabric.
yeah. So
uh-huh.
it's like it's kind of sentient, kind of not. It's leading that path. I used to have someone who had like a cloak made out of it, and that was actually sentient. But this kind of looks a little bit off, like they got it at the dollar store or something.
You mean the gold store?
Yeah,
The copper
yeah.
store,
On
sorry.
the off chance it's sentient. Whether or not it's sentient, is it intelligent? You know?
It looks kind of like, okay. So I think it's sentient enough to do its job. Because as
Essentially,
you see,
Could we ask it to stop doing its job?
maybe I haven't tried.
Like, do you think we could ask it to unwrap itself?
Let me see. I'll go up to the box and I'll look at the silk. I'll be like, "Would you please get off the box?"
It doesn't seem to be reacting.
I look over at Fisher. Yeah, no, nothing.
You do know, however, that your master, its native language, is very similar to music. When someone listens to it, they could literally feel like they're simply singing something like a symphony, but for them it is actually their language. So it is extremely
Okay.
more complex, also, than the language of human. You've never learned it. You know that no one has. The only way that some people have managed to understand part of it is through magic, but even that is not complete. Too many nuances are missing when translated.
Well, I might need to speak its language to get it off, but there's like a whole language kind of thing, and it's pretty hard to learn. I don't think anybody around here knows it.
Mm-hmm.
So should we take it to like, I don't know. There's like a I don't want to go to the gnomes for this.
No, I've got a team pretty much figured out for everything related to this box and its contents.
Okay. We should probably take it to there and see if they can take it off or if they know someone who knows the language. Because it'd be nice to keep that silk. We could keep it if we ever need to have something under control or like if we need to bind something. It makes them for some really good handcuffs, probably.
Maybe. I don't know. Could you not just? Is it like stronger than like regular fabric?
Well, yeah, like when it, as you can see, take the box. I try to take it off, and it stops at a certain level, and like it turns like hard, like hard as rock, kind of, a little bit harder maybe.
He can slide his hand under it, and maybe pull it. I don't know, a 16th of an inch from the box before it starts giving very strong resistance to the point where it feels like it's metal. But as soon as he slides his hand out, it just shrinks back to where it's supposed to be. And it keeps its silk feel.
Yeah. Any chance you could just slide it off?
I mean, we could try. I will try to gently slide it off. Like I'll put my hand under it and get the box, and then kind of like go like this, try to slide it out of there.
Well, the thing is that the initial way that it was wrapped, that might have worked. But the way that it's wrapped now, it literally does the same thing as a present. So the silk covers both end and each side.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, it doesn't look like that's happening, Haas.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Toby, what's this stuff called?
Would I know? What would the silk from my master be called?
The best translation that you have from him is my friend.
That makes it sadder.
So yeah, the closest I could get for a name is my friend. I don't really know the language, and that's all that I got from it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Well,
sorry I couldn't help more.
no,
If it was
you're
any
good.
other kind of silk, I probably would have been able to do something, but
I guess
Tobiashi,
I gotta head over to the knowledge district.
you've seen your master do incredible things with his robes. He can manipulate them as easily as if it was cloth, but he can literally transform it into something that is as hard as an armor. He can tear off pieces of it and just throw them like throwing knives. And when they hit, they are as hard as steel, but they decompose just like normal biological matter. And you know that when he feeds, he says something that would make you feel like he not only feeds itself, but the cloth also. There is a relationship between the two of them that you do not understand clearly.
Okay. But yeah, I think taking it to the knowledge district would be the best, especially if we want to keep it.
Mhm. I mean, how if if there's one thing Terry's good at, it's languages. So maybe
Yeah, he could know.
he's figured out how to talk to it. But seeing as I have no idea. I think we should head out there.
This is probably the ancestor to my master's cloaks, to be honest. It's like his great 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 grandfather.
Well,
that would suggest that it reproduces in some way.
I don't know. I don't know everything about it. If it's sentient, it probably could.
Tobiashi, you'd know this.
Interesting.
Because it was your master. No one knows how long an exile, one of the exile can live. No one has ever seen one die of old age.
Okay.
I just want to imagine just like, oh, you're so silky smooth.
Okay. Yeah, it could be possible. Maybe. But yeah, we should head over there, or some of us head over there if we have anything to do. No, anybody?
I'm gonna.
Well, Jorg
walk
is
back up
entranced.
his
by...
audience just surrounded by. People.
Well, it depends on how much attention you want, audience. Like I said, several drinks are being shoved your way so that you can share in with everyone, answer a few questions. People that wonders how you felt when this happened, and was the creature as horrible as what you described?
Let me answer that. I'm audience and I rolled a nat 20. I want all the attention.
And apparently Jorg is completely entranced by the way that audience told the tale.
I'm gonna go with Fisher. I want to see what's going on with this silk.
Jorg?
So yes, Fisher.
Jorg, you remember a few things that didn't happen the way that audience said they did, but man, he just told them so well.
I didn't mention how I bonked one of them. I don't remember who I got the finishing blow on, but I definitely bonked one of them to death.
The Blade Master?
Yeah.
Okay, the
I
finishing
bonked
blow.
him. You left that out.
I was not saying that the Blade Master died to a bonk.
Yeah. That'd start a fight with Cora immediately.
It's like, and so the Time Knights heroically finished the fight with a single powerful.
No, actually, the bunk you're referring to is the ice swimmer that you finished by giving it a single strike from your staff as it was diving in.
That was the true bonk.
Yeah.
You killed with sacred. You killed sacred. I think flame.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, just like. And
it somehow didn't fail to save against sacred flame.
Roll a natural 1, even with all the bonuses he has. It's not enough to reach 13.
Alright, yeah. If everybody looks busy, we'll just head out.
I'm going with you.
Alright. Just one question for Jorg. Do you try and slip in at any point during all of this commotion that you are actually the one who killed the Blade Master?
Honestly, no. I think I'm okay with the way he told it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, that's the only question I had. All right. So this means that Jorg, audience, and Remy join in the festivities of everything that happened. Of course, why did I lose? Hold on. Brain decided to give me a blue screen. Corinth. Actually, at one point, even tells you, I've heard that tale before. It was quite different, but your take was very original. Didn't know that the noble woman was supposed to be well, much nobler woman than what the story actually said.
Yes, well, other people who told the story weren't actually there, as having lived through the adventure, they missed some details. The tellings of the past.
Yes. Bards tend to do this. They always have to rely on what happened. I myself have been in a few tales. I have to admit that I did not know I did some things that stories say I did.
I'll show Cora the handkerchief with the favor that she's just shown. You see, she gave me her handkerchief before the final fight as her champion, so I must speak well of her.
Very interesting and very impressive. A knight indeed.
I'll show everyone my noble ring I got. The seal.
Too bad Fisher has the sword.
Yeah, it's just a sword. I have a title.
Yeah, immediately when you show this proof of nobility, you have a few gnomes. And, oh, we have a real noble inside. You get the feeling that they're mocking you a little bit, but they all join in nearly in a single voice. All hail, noble audience. Some of them.
I'll reply to them in Gnomish. A noble though who cares and favors the gnomes, and give them a wink.
Oh, a lot of them starts laughing at this and give a cheer and drink down whatever drink they had in their hand. Even one that gets close to you and said, I'll make sure to mention this to Kipa, who's doing a good job with your dimensional space.
Thank you.
Should probably check in with her, Just make her aware that you are such a fascinating person. A noble that favors gnomes.
Somehow I'm sure the word will get around. As I'm looking at all the gnomes who always... Somehow I feel like the information will reach her.
They've been on Twitter this whole time.
Oh, no, it's definitely just have like a instant contact between like all of them. Just like a group text where they just...
Well, no, it's like, you see, all the gnomes are in some way connected with the birds. And so, like, they invented a new communication form called Tweeter.
So birds are just gnome spy drones.
Precisely.
Oh my gosh.
Well,
Birds work for the gnomes.
One of the types of gnomes actually really favors having small pets, and they can actually understand their behavior and talk with them in some way. So maybe you're spot on and you don't know it. For some reason during
They decorate their birds.
For some reason during the next hour, there's a whole lot of bird traffic in the Arboretum.
I just got a new case for my bird. You guys want to see it?
So now we're down to birds and ball jokes. That's all. Yeah. Well, anyway, just so that she knows that you're thinking about her. It's always nice when you know that a noble is thinking about you.
Yes.
Well, I got something to do. And he climbs down, and you notice he's dragging what looks like a ball, but on a rope.
I do not ask. I do not have time for a 5-hour explanation of whatever that is.
Smart.
All right. So, would Remy like to do something with everything that's happening, or maybe Jorg has something to do also? I don't know. Not gonna give all the attention to audience, Tobiashi, and Fisher, you know.
I don't know what Jorg would do. He's gonna go. He's not gonna say this now, but he's thinking about how when audience like gets a final copy of his story down, that he lets Jorg at least finish off one of the big guys. Doesn't have to be the last one, and the biggest one. It just has to be like the Hydra or something.
Well,
Give me some credit.
I never thought I'd be able to do this in any story. Historically speaking, audience killed the troll and the Hydra. He actually is the one who got the last hit. So, there are the Toads or the Blade Master, you know.
Yeah.
The Blade Master, you know, you actually are the one who did the last hit.
Mm-hmm.
To be fair, I give no one credit for the Blade Master. I didn't give myself credit. Our party overall got credit for the Blade.
We got to get his gnome legal team in on this.
Yeah, because what? Yeah, we all fought real hard for that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I may
We'll
have
be
swayed
hearing
some
from-
minds by me being the one to hold the broken blade up, but listen, we don't need to talk about performance or any choices. Technically, I told no lies.
All right, so that's just for Jorg?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know what else Jorg would do. Probably now he wants to go find out what that scratching noise was, but he's like, now they're gone.
Damn, where would they have
Missed it.
gone?
He will, I guess, hang out with audience while audience gets all of the.
You can always ask a gnome. If you have faith in their answers, you can always ask a gnome.
I think I'm good.
Okay.
I don't know what they're gonna tell me.
Well, you won't know unless you ask.
Yeah.
That's the problem. All right. What about Remy?
You know what? I think he's just gonna take advantage of all the attention and chaos and audience, and just kind of procure funds and items from the less perceptive, and also the ones less likely to be able to like smash him into a pancake if they caught him.
So, mostly from non-adventurers.
I'm just saying that, you know, like there are certain high-leveled individuals in here that could most assuredly flatten Raimi into a pancake. So,
And maybe even eat it after. All right. So basically, you're trying to steal stuff from the gnomes, the dwarves, and the halflings.
A chicken
yeah,
sandwich.
basically just while they're all distracted by audience and like asking a bunch of questions, just like.
Okay. So, are you concentrating on something specific, or just grabbing the first thing you see?
I think we'll just go with probably first thing that he sees, if for no other reason than you know, like because of like how crowded everything is. I don't think there's like a whole lot of like interval time to actually see what somebody has on them before there's like a bunch of shifting movement, shifting eyes.
Okay. And how many times are you going to attempt this? Until you find something satisfying, or...
I would say he would do it. I would say like he would stop around when the attention is starting to die down. Again, like the longer that you do it, the more likely you get caught.
Alright. Alright, well, there are so many people around. Do a stealth roll. And... yeah, let's start with a stealth roll.
Dope. We have 24.
Okay. Okay, in that case, I will let you do sleight of hand check with advantage because of how many people there are around and the fact that you did at least try to be as quiet and elusive as you can.
Oh God! Thank God for advantage. 26. The other die was a 3.
So basically what happens is that just as you're about to reach for a pouch, someone steps on your foot and you go, that's a turtle foot. Oh. But you push through the pain and you finish your grab of this little pouch dangling off the belt of a gnome. Now you understand why turtles walk slowly. All right.
I wonder if it was the same gnome that took my pee.
You obtain 1 jar of pee.
There's a capsule in it. It says consume me.
No.
All right.
Oh, I didn't realize we were adding that tag to this stream.
Is there a gnome altered P tag? That would be a very special
but
stream.
but there is a confusingly named tag for a different kind of video.
Okay.
Okay.
I did not
Yeah, I
know
didn't
that.
say it.
I did not know that. Fascinating world we live in. Not always in the best of ways. All right. So, after taking a few moments to recover from your foot getting crushed by a turtle, you look around, see that everyone is still partying, asking audiences questions. Turn around and you notice that a very interesting small belt container on the back of a dwarf. So, make your sleight of hand check. Again, with advantage, because you did not scream when your foot was
I did not
crushed.
scream. Although that said, I'm just imagining like slips it off the belt, it immediately falls to the ground, slamming, waking, making everybody alert to it. That's my own joke, but no, this one's a 28.
Okay. Still limp.
But I just imagine you just like a dwarf just carrying around something super heavy on their belt.
Oh, this looks relatively light. That's right. They might have special things on them. you actually slid the belt off of a belt of giant strength.
It's like no wonder he was able to carry.
All right. So you're taking this very, very delicate moment of evaluating everyone, noticing that, all right, some people are going back to their places. They're still talking a lot about everything that audience did, but audience seems to be holding the attention of a few adventurers and a few gnomes, but everyone else is going back to their things, although still talking about this incredible tale told in such a very why can I say it now? Theatrical way.
Theatrical.
Thank you. Was placing the H in the wrong place. Theatrical way. You think you have one other opportunity to try and snag something off of a group of gnomes that are slowly walking your direction. Now that everyone has parted ways, you lose your advantage because you're in a very open space. But you can make another sleight of hand check. See if you can take something off of this group approaching you.
We'll give it a shot. Though, probably in this specific situation, Raimi would try to use Mage Hand so that if it failed, maybe he'd be able to pass it off as, it just, falling out by accident.
Okay.
But we'll see how this goes. Okay, only a 19.
All right.
Only.
Well, he's a rogue. He did put one of his double proficiency in sleight of hand, so. All right. You're not as satisfied as you were with everyone else, but you managed to pull on one of the pouch in a way that sort of tears the seam of the leather, connecting the little strip to the actual pouch. Taking advantage of this little interesting fault in the leatherwork of this pouch. You just keep pulling on it, and it just detached from the gnome's belt, and you let it follow the gnome for a little while, and just as they're completely around you, you hand it off to yourself with your mage hand.
This is not quite what they usually mean by a handoff, but okay.
And you're fairly certain no one saw you, although you are surrounded by very perceptive adventurers. Not all of them, but a few of them, so...
Personally, I'm waiting for a goblin in the corner. But anyway...
So after this tale and all of the bustling moments and the audience probably being given enough alcohol to get himself drunk again.
Yeah, I'll roll a con save for that. We'll see how I'm doing. Unnatural 20. I'm holding it pretty well.
Yeah. Fortunately, a lot of those people paying to give you alcohol are gnomes, and they do not have the same tolerance as dwarves, dragonborns, and core.
Just getting a lot of watered down stuff.
Well, it's...
Oh, I'm still waiting for Core to come, be like, you thought you beat a Blade Master? Why don't you try me?
where you go, sure, as long as it's at the same time that Fisher does.
All right, so you limp to a corner of the room, still nursing your foot, and find yourself with 2 small pouches and 1 belt container. Do you wait to open them, or do you open them now?
Probably not best, at least in the place where presumably 2 of the people that were taken from are probably still there.
Okay.
That seems like the incorrect decision.
All right. In that case, you take advantage of the fact that anyone that seems to have been able to participate in this adventure gets handed at least 1 free drink. It helps to dull the pain in your foot. But it's
Yeah, everybody knows alcohol goes straight to the leg first.
especially in birds, you know. And you have a very pleasant evening, basking in the aura of heroism that audience is shining right now. Wondering if you should at one point throw a fairy fire on him, just to see. But while this is happening, this is the ideal place where you see, but exactly like what was the numerology of it in the original one? I think Final Fantasy IV, where they eventually always put the meanwhile in the middle of the screen. We have Tobiashi and Fisher, who made their way back to the Knowledge Quarter. There are always people in there, since most of those that you can actually interact with in the Knowledge Quarter are, for the most part, wardens. And they apparently are even more resilient to the lack of low power than Fisher. They seem to be working all day long. So there's always at least a handful of wardens in there. But the day is slowly moving forward. So there are a few people also just looking at things, making a few research. So, Fisher and Tobiashi, what do you do when you arrive in this gargantuan library?
I think I just go straight back up to the research quarter where we usually hang out.
I follow.
All right. A bit of a lower level where there's a very large table, and you can just look up and see all of the books around you. There are always a few people working there.
Curiously enough, there's now a nameplate on one of the tables labeled Time Nights.
It's always been there. That's what Time Nights are.
Then I will ask somebody, or do I see Theag around?
Would she be here right now? Apparently you're very lucky. You catch her setting up a table, getting things prepared. I don't know if audience remember, but at the end of your tale, one of the warden did ask you to give a less dramatic version of your adventure to everyone else in the garden, mostly the wardens and the researchers. So apparently Theag, you don't know it, but Theag is setting up this little area for this debriefing.
All right. I will walk over. You busy?
There
Got
is
a
always
problem.
something to do here, but I can certainly answer a few questions if you have some.
Is the box still making the scratching noise?
Yeah. One thing you did notice while you were walking, there's sort of a inconsistency about the rhythm it has. Sometimes it's a very aggressive, nearly grinding noise. Sometimes it's just a slight. Then it pauses for a while. Then it starts again, just a. As you entered, there was this grinding noise again.
Yeah. So while we were, have you got the rundown of what happened yet?
Part of it, at least what you told Syrah.
Okay, that's good enough for now. So because Terry is an aberration, they locked it in this box with this sentient fabric.
Yes,
I think.
sentient fabric.
That's what Toby thinks it is. And we need help opening it.
Oh, all right.
Because it sounds like Terry is either trying to chew its way out or inventing a new language.
Well, let's hope for the second one and not the first. Very well.
You're actually trying to eat the box to survive, not escape.
He's eating the void.
Now let's see. She takes a moment.
If that Crossroads dude was anything worth his stuff, then... Or no, it wasn't him. It was... I think it was here.
No? Yeah, no, it was here. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was here.
That what?
Terry's
That it was-
supposed to have a
Box.
food and water dispenser in the box.
Yes.
So, if it's trying to eat its way out, it's because it stopped working or broke it. Or it ran out or something.
Or the box is now too full of food and
It's just squished into the side.
it's that unfortunate situation where the parrot had too much fun with the food dispenser and now it can't escape.
Oh, jeez. And I know what he's been ordering, so come on, please don't give me this. Okay. So, what did this actually... Okay. Yeah, that's not what I want to know. Okay. Okay. Oh, interesting. Okay, she takes a moment, she concentrates. You recognize that she's casting a few spells. First one being one that you recognize as something that's been cast, at least ritual casting by Remy several times, which is Detect Magic, followed by an Identification spell. And she looks at the box itself and the wrapping. Alright. Well, this is not going to be easy to open. The silk is quite resilient. You're not wrong by saying that it's sentient, but calling it intelligent might actually be a bit of a stretch. It does feel very similar to other things we've encountered. One being a colony of single-cell organism forming a very intriguing pattern. But this is not it. This is strands of some sort of textile enchanted in a way that it can react to some things. Unfortunately, it's not going to be very easy to remove it. I get the feeling that there is most likely a command word, but the enchantment on it is very similar to an anti-magic field. So normal dispels will not be enough to render it useless. I'm gonna need something a bit stronger. She takes a moment. She closes her eyes. She opens them again. All right, someone's gonna be here very soon. Well, meanwhile, tell me a bit more about where and when this was placed.
Where do you want me to start? Just specifically about this, or
Yes, the silk around it.
that would have been when we first entered the city. Obviously there was it got a bit dicey there because they thought we were trying to smuggle in the enemy, and so one of their priests wrapped this around it and cast a spell before taking it somewhere to be studied, which I was not able to be there for. For the small amount of time we did open it, Terry was acting strange, kind of like it does around the green gem we left, but facing towards the the east. I believe is where the portal, where all the aberrations were arriving from, was located. So, yeah. When I got it back, they made me promise not to open it before we left, so I didn't.
Well, I doubt very much you would have been able to open it. So the silk, once wrapped around itself, acts a bit like an anti-magic field, preventing anything from being cast. Well, essentially, it cuts off any sort of energy from the world from entering it. So there is very important questions that you did not answer. How long has this been there?
The silk,
Yes.
that would have been 2 days in the dream. And then we woke up this morning in the real world. So 2 or 3 days.
300,000 years, right? That's how long it's been on. Well, if you have time travel.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, I think it just came back with.
Well,
Although-
if you're still hearing scratches from inside of it, I would imagine that it came back with you and not a long way. But we are going to need Karmita here. She turns toward one of the wardens and... Yes, if you don't mind, and tell him it might be quite urgent. How is Terry feeding itself right now?
Hopefully with the. Where did I get him? Water dispenser thing. There was also somehow whatever it likes unsupervised as to how good for its diet that might be. Last time I opened it up, it was very excitedly, I think, bathing in a minty, limey liquid.
Right. And how much reserve does this thing have?
I don't remember.
So if I understand this correctly, the only way it has to feed itself is a magically powered device that is now encompassed in an anti-magic field.
Yes. I see. Yep. That makes sense.
All right. Well, there is at least one good news I can give you right now. If he's still scratching, he's still alive. Maybe you should leave him in our infirmary for a night.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
You see a warden enter place where you are. To you, he looks like every single other warden that you've seen so far, with a black cloak on his, dark clothing, because it's not just a cloak; it's an entire robe, and black gloves. The only thing you can notice that is slightly different is a bit his tone of voice, going. And this is the creature I'm supposed to help? Looking at you, Fisher. She said, no, it's most likely the one inside the box. There is a good chance that it hasn't had anything to eat or drink in 3 days. Very well. Well, as soon as you can remove whatever is preventing you from removing it from the box, I will, of course, take it to the infirmary immediately. Very well. You have to wait for another maybe 10 minutes, and you see where is he? Salmain, the elven wizard who
Messed with my insides.
played with your insides, yes.
Yeah.
Enter the room, arms crossed behind his back, looking at this little box, looking at you, Fisher, looking at Tobiashi and Theag. I would imagine you at least try the most obvious answers. Yes, at least I did. Alright. Give me a moment. You see him rummages through one of the large pouches he has, something that can accommodate several potions. See him look inside, take one out. That's not going to be potent enough. Take another one. All right.
Here's the scroll of disintegrate.
No. Don't do it to him.
He uncorks the bottle, starts sprinkling it over it, and it's a bit odd because it feels like it's flowing like a liquid, but just a
Stinging
few
like a bee.
inch before it hits the box, it sort of dissolves itself into a fine powder and just slides off the box. You see the silk withering in one place where the this powder is hitting it, and suddenly it just breaks off, and you see Salmain take a small crystal and place it where the silk broke. Right, I guess he takes the two part of the silk, pulls them apart. He speaks an arcane word that you do not know what this is, and immediately the crystal starts glowing a bright purplish color, and then the silk goes inert completely. It loses its consistency. It's still there, but feels now that it's a lot more like a textile. The moment that this happens, you see a small round section of the side wall of your box just go, and you see Terry inching its way out very much slower than usual, like someone who is crawling on the floor, trying to reach something, pulling itself. This is when you realize, oh yeah, the silk was also maintaining the integrity of the box. Terry actually did manage, you're not sure when, to bore a hole through the wooden part of the box.
Look at that little guy go. He just never gives up.
Fortunately, I would imagine that now he can also start casting again, but we'll need to take care of him a little bit. You see Carmitad just looking at it. He looks in quite a bad shape. Let me handle this. I will most likely give him back to you in the morning, if he survives
Can I have
the
that
night.
silk?
Grab
Can
it.
I come with you?
Well, if you do not mind spending your night inside of an infirmary, yes, of course. I believe you are the closest thing this creature has to a parent.
Yeah.
Very well.
I don't need to sleep.
Follow me.
What?
Oh, yeah.
Just standing there.
Thanks for coming with me, Toby.
Yeah, no problem. I'll go back. I look over the person who was touching the silk. Can I have that? Can
If you want, I do believe the silk is completely inert now.
That's fine. I just want the silk, and then I'll grab it off the desk and start walking away.
Theag does turn to you as you're leaving. He said, I believe the rest of your party is going to be here very soon.
Oh, really?
They were asked to give a more detailed debriefing of everything that happened while you were inside of this dream reality.
Okay. I guess I could wait here for them.
Unless there is something you need to do.
Not really. I was just gonna go look at the silk, see what kind it is. Um, don't have much to do. I'm waiting on stuff to be made. I think they said like 2 or 3 weeks for the other stuff that I need.
Well, the more complex a magical object is, the longer it takes to make it.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll just wait here for them.
Alright, well, they shouldn't be too long. I believe the commotion is slowly dying down in the tavern.
Oh, wait, I could ask you something about this.
Oh,
Um, do you know anything about the fuck? Sorry, my blinds keep opening and closing.
okay.
Do you know anything about this? And then will put the ball on the table, and I will open it and safely let out. I don't even have a name for him yet. The elemental thing.
Alright, I will have to add these side effect, I would imagine.
What?
Well, yes, last time you were here, you did ask for a book to learn its language. So
Oh,
I
yeah.
imagine the adventure inside of a dream realm had certain side effects. Unless your memory
Oh, yeah.
really is this short.
See, I went through a lot when we went there. A lot happened, and but yeah. If you know anything else, anything new that you've learned from the last time I was here, I haven't been able to learn anything with the book. Haven't really had the time.
Has,
But
has Fisher been helping you?
see, most of the time we're like not together in the group, right? But once we get free time later, I will have to learn from it. But I haven't so far. Not a single thing.
Well, there's not a lot that I can do to help you if you don't put in the time.
Seems about right. I'm hoping my mask can actually help me with that. don't know
Yes,
when
I
it's
have
gonna
been
be.
made aware of that, but I do believe that this is more for writing. Oh, I'll check to make sure. But
Okay. Well, I guess I'll just wait here for him. I'm gonna inspect the silk. What does it look like? Is it still the same kind of a?
now that the enchantment has mostly been nullified, it's still a beautiful silk. It feels like a piece of silk that would have survived through the ages because it was placed in a very an airtight container. So there's a bit of fraying around it. A bit of wear and tear that seems to have introduced itself in. So there might be an actual element of time. As you know, most magical objects have a shelf life. It's just
Yeah.
longer than practically everyone
Right,
can live.
items. Okay. And then I will just
But-
gently put that into.
Other than that, it's a
My
very
pouch.
beautiful silk. Very
Yeah.
well made.
I'll gently tuck it away into my other silks,
All right.
and then wait for the rest of everyone to get there.
All right. Then this is a good moment for our break.
All right.
And we will come back after this for audience's debriefing. Well, everyone can pitch in, but I assume audience would be the one who gives. Who would?
I'm
do the
sure
most.
that Raimi would fully participate in a debriefing of audience.
I'm gonna leave the room.
You know, everyone knows that audience.
Look, the joke was sitting right there.
I can understand that. All right, so let's go with a little bit of a thunder and rain while we're waiting for the break to finish. And we are going to be back in 15 minutes. So, see you in 15 minutes. Bye. Ah, welcome back. We're inside, so no storm. All right. So, welcome
Unless
back.
the gnomes were messing with the internal settings of the.
They're gnomes. You can bet there's somewhere inside of this place where it's raining inside. All right.
Probably not on purpose, but it's happening somewhere.
You never know. It might be on purpose. They're gnomes. All right. So, just in case you missed where we were before we ended this, everyone was about to reunite in the knowledge quarter around a table, and Jorg, audience, and Remy are most likely going to join them join Tobiashi in the next few minutes. Ms. Fisher, you are being taken to the infirmary where Carmita is going to take care of poor Terry, who literally could not do anything for nearly 3 days because everything he knows how to do except spit acid depends on magic. So as the effervescence of the evening dies down, Jorg, audience, and Remy inside the tavern, you remember that, well, at least audience and Remy remember that they were asked to join everyone in the knowledge quarter to debrief the entire situation in front of a group of researchers. And so, as the evening dies down for you, at least, probably audience with great satisfaction, even though less and less people are talking to you, and Core seems to be looking in your direction in a funny way. You do notice that a lot of people are still talking about your tale, but individually on their table with their friends. But then you remember that you've been asked to join let's call this a council, a committee of the garden to give a less theatrical version of your story.
They call it the grapevine.
I will stand
Audience is
up.
like, that's the most accurate version of the story.
Yeah.
That's exactly what happened.
That's exactly what happened. I will stand up, kind of, go. Unfortunately, my friends, I must bid you farewell for now. For members of the garden also wish to hear my tale higher up, so I must away to them. But I hope you all have an excellent evening. And with that, I'll leave the tavern.
Alright, you hear a few of the gnome cheering. You hear Corinth wishing you a good debriefing session. And telling you that he'll make sure that there is at least one last ale ready for you when you come back after this long and grueling task that you've been asked to perform in front of a group of people who are not going to enjoy this the same way as everyone in the tavern did.
Unfortunately, it will be room temperature.
Fair enough.
Careful, if you say this out loud, you might end up with a block of ice beer. They're gnomes. Everything is possible.
It's just a popsicle.
Beer popsicle. I know some people who would actually pay for that.
Except
Oh,
all
hold
the
on.
alcohol would like not freeze and
That's
just
why I
cool at
say.
the bottom of it.
That's why I say they're gnomes. Never underestimate them.
Well, don't worry. They'll counteract it by putting antifreeze in the same drink.
Oh, nice.
Ugh. I think
Wait.
no, antifreeze is the thing Fisher
That would
got
make
that
it-
one time
no, that
when he
means
asked
you-
what the constructs drink,
Yeah.
and then he shut down. For...
Just means you have to cool the water down to whatever minus
Alcohol
thing
freezes.
to freeze along with the alcohol. Yeah.
I have a bottle of liquid nitrogen. Do you think it would work?
Audience will not say that out loud. He will instead, say his partings, farewells, and leave the tavern.
Right.
Flash a few winks at some of the more attractive members that
Well, there's always Temptress and Neisa who are there that you recognize.
I don't think I necessarily flash the winks. That might be dangerous.
So which one of the two is the female sister? It's human. All right. It's Demis with the brother and sister team that are actually that is actually the female. So you haven't talked to her a lot, but she has a very thief vibe to her. Discreet, dark, looking at you in your direction. Wondering if everything you say is actually what happened.
Alright. Well, if she wants some one-on-one conversation time, I'm open to it, but she has to
and there's Connie also.
yeah. Anyway, I'll make my exit, my normal flair, and
All right.
yes.
So
Busy man, places to be, things to do.
Place to be, things to do.
all right. So you make a reverence to everyone before you leave and go on your way to the knowledge quarter, the huge library, probably the one part of the entire garden that you've only been a handful of times.
Yeah. I've been there with Fisher a couple times.
Yeah.
So.
But never on your own. Never because you wanted to be there.
Never because audience was curious.
But who knows? Now that you know that Theag often hangs out in this place, maybe you'll be there more often. She has a weird half-elven vibe to her. And she's apparently very, very, very knowledgeable of magic.
Audience doesn't care about magic. The only magic he cares about is when the enemy gods start trying to use it on him.
Okay. So, it takes a moment, and eventually, Tobiyashi, you see Jorg, Remy, and audience arriving in the knowledge quarter, nearly bored out of your mind, and... finally!
What took you so long to get a little box open?
It was a magical box.
Oh.
Yeah. He ended up eating out of the box. So like there was a hole, he pushed his way out.
Damn.
They're in the infirmary right now. I think he was like dying or something. But
Oh shit. Is he
Oh.
okay?
I think so. I think he'll be okay. He wasn't okay when he got out of the box, but Fisher could tell you the rest when we see him.
Alright.
Alright.
Where are these people that I need to debrief to?
Well,
That chick over there, is she still there?
yes.
Has she been sitting there the whole time?
Well,
Or-
she's not been
Well, yeah,
sitting
it's
there,
her-
but she's been...
Study. You've been sitting there the whole time.
I don't know what you're talking about.
The simple fact that you're asking me if she's still sitting there shows that you haven't been paying attention to everything she's been doing. Well, no.
That's just nerd stuff.
I've just been daydreaming.
She's actually been using you as a coat rack the whole time. You just didn't notice.
I was playing Dungeons and Dragons
You fe-
while I waited for you guys.
You fell.
Yeah.
You fell asleep in the position very similar to your character behind you, like this, and so when you wake up, you see a coat hanging from you.
I come home just like, hi guys. That was a nice nap.
You see a gnome nearby with an orb, looking at you. Thanks. I'll use it very, very well. I promise. And he leaves.
Weirdos.
He was telling that to you, Tobiyashi.
Oh. Okay. Yeah, that's fine.
So, they're gonna bring you back in pieces someday. They got your pee, and now they got something you did while you were asleep.
Ah.
Wow.
Deeply worried.
Hey.
They're gonna make a little me.
So,
They're just gonna clone you.
Yeah, they're gonna clone
They're gonna
me.
switch you out, and we're not gonna notice.
Yeah. I'm gonna be trapped forever.
I'm just gonna
Dude,
go ahead and
Toby's
start
a
building
lot
a harassment case
Nicer
now.
to hang out with.
someone's gonna cast the spell on your group, and Tobiyashi's just gonna fall into a puddle of something. Oops. Alright, so you, after noticing that Tobiyashi most likely has been sleeping for at least a good 20 minutes,
Did my short rest.
and the gnome collected something.
Meditating. He's a monk.
Yeah, I was
Meditating.
meditating. I wasn't sleeping.
It
I
was,
wiped the
You
drawer
weren't
real quick. I'm
meditating,
like,
you were sleeping. There's a difference.
it was deep meditation.
yeah. It's meditation drool, not just drool. Promise.
It's more potent.
Yeah.
So, as everyone sits around this table, you have a whole lot of wardens that sit down. Of course, to you, most of them look exactly the same. Tall, construct, wearing black robes, wearing gloves. You see one sentinel also nearby, the larger version of them. But you recognize one without gloves, and making it very obvious that this is a construct. You know that the only one who doesn't wear a glove is Illithane. So
Alright.
you have a confirmation that he is around the table also. While most of you have not seen him, Salmain is also here. Tobiyashi, you saw him when he came to undo the silk.
Mhm.
Of course, Theag is here, also sitting around the table. And
Who's your favorite person?
and you have one gnome also sitting at the table. Looks a little bit older than the average gnome that you meet. So Theag takes the speaks first. All right, now that everyone is here, we are very much interested in learning more about this very peculiar experience that you have lived through. You've said something about it being in another shard time. You're not sure?
Not positive. And I will go into the details of the dream. And well, the tale I told before was much more, heroic going into the deeds. I will much more focus on in this all the little details of the dream, the disparities, the memory differences between Jorg and Toby and us. I will go into my dreams. Both dreams I had where I only told the thing one about the gods. And then obviously I will go into the end about how we seem to have kept all the items we had, as well as I will also tell them, which I did not tell the tavern, exactly what I stated to the dragon about trying to change the past a little bit and how I did that.
All right. So basically, it's easier to say, is there anything you do not tell the garden?
No.
Okay.
No, there's not. I give them the full debrief.
All right. Even your two dreams.
Yes, even my two dreams. I tell them everything.
Well, three, technically.
Yeah.
All right. So this is the first time that Jorg, Tobiashi, and Remy hears about the struggles, the godly struggles that you've been facing inside of that universe. The additional pressure that poor audience was having to face alone while all of this was happening.
Where
Yeah.
was your dragon in all those dreams?
No. I did not know most of actually the forces I was dealing with.
So why?
I
Never mind. Why do you preach about the dragon and not the sun?
I have not started running into the sun until I prayed in the mountain when up in the mountain when we were that, and it seems to have shown an interest in me or been following me since that time. And in that moment, in that dream, it seemed to be the best option for me to survive against the other god. I don't know. I do not know much about it.
Yeah.
The moon did feel extremely familiar, as if it was a power that had been with you nearly all of your life.
Yeah, but I'm not going to tell Jorg that.
Okay.
George gonna have a point then.
All right.
I'm starting to fall asleep again over all this religion talk.
Soon as George
I'm
starts
not a
asking
moon
questions,
so
you
I'm
see
not- I'm not,
Tobiashi.
like gonna push you into.
Throughout all of your tale, all of the wardens, including Theag and Salmain and the gnome, they all took notes. Elithane was listening to you very intently. There is something peculiar in the feeling he gives when he's there, especially when he is listening with this much attention to everything you're saying. And this is the first time that you actually been in the room for as long as all of that happened with Ilithane in the room. And there is a feel of stability and nearly immovability when we talk about an immovable object. You sort of have this feeling of, wow, I never took the time to really evaluate him, but it feels like he is as permanent a fixture in this place as the garden itself. There is a heavy sense of power accompanying him, more than you've taken the time to feel with anyone else within this place. Theag listens very intently, but she very much has a scholar feeling. She's very interested in everything you say. She takes notes about everything. But again, you look at her and feels like you are watching someone that is so old. There is a sense of timelessness with her. Of course, Remy, well, Jorg, Tobiashi, and Remy most likely have the same feeling watching them, as the audience is the one who has the lowest insight of the group and manages to still feel that. So you all feel very much of that within this. Everyone else feels young compared to the two of them. And compared to Ilithane, have moderate power. And like I said, compared to Theag, feels nearly young. Even... Yeah.
No, I was going to say I should also mention I did mention the fact that it was the Silver Bard who told us the tale, but he told it due to the figure in the dark cloak. And I also will mention how I do not believe the Silver Bard was involved in casting a spell or whatever happened that sent us there. That it was something else.
Okay.
But I do mention the figure in the dark cloak and that he was the one who requested for us specifically to be told that story before it happened.
All right. Theag and Salmain take a moment to look at one another before one of them speaks. Salmain feels like he understands what Theag is thinking about. And after a moment, he looks at all of you and says, well, it was definitely a spell of some sort. As to what it actually was, that is a different thing altogether. Anything takes a turn to talk and say, we've encountered a great many shards of very different nature in our travels. It feels like you might have been in a shard, but you've also have been in the past. Just as much as you've been in a dream. And if this feels confusing, keep in mind that within a world where every magical influence is swirling around, being thrown in every direction, odd things can actually become one. Tell me, has there ever been something, an event in your recent life that you felt was out of context?
Has there been?
The raccoon
I'm
god.
looking around the table.
Hmm.
Out of context. What do you mean?
Yeah.
You mean that doesn't like feel
Well-
right or doesn't fit with the moment that we're in?
That's one way that something can be described. As if you didn't have what was necessary to understand everything that was in front of you. As if many
Like-
pieces of the puzzle were missing.
Like before or after we went?
Ever since
Or came
you've
back.
started this adventure for the garden.
I'd say a lot of moments. I mean,
Yeah, all the time.
yeah, constantly.
Oh no. Here goes his dementia again. Somebody.
No, but let me think. I'm trying to think of specific examples.
You guys-
Well,
Came and rescued me from that forest. Is that?
I mean, there was definitely parts of it we couldn't understand. I don't know if it was out of context, though. Obviously, this isn't the first time we've been transported to another shard. I believe we debriefed you before on our other journey to the Nightmare Shard. I believe we also debriefed you on a few of the dreams we've had regarding one of the more recent things I can think of is the dream regarding the raccoon. I'll point to the picture because I can see it now. I'm sure there's one on a corner
Oh, yes,
wall
there's
over
one.
here. The raccoon with like the pillar, and there was definitely a lot I didn't understand. Honestly, this prophecy we were given about the rise of the hunter god. I don't know again if that's out of context, but definitely like we don't understand all of it. Yeah, those are some of the examples I can think of at the moment. I guess I'll mention also when I was in the mountain brain, there was a couple things that felt kind of like out of context there when we brought back the dragon scales. Definitely a lot of forces that like seems to be trying to play different roles that I don't completely understand.
A guy came after me. I don't know what that was about.
Mm-hmm.
What guy?
The guy that we
Monk.
found in town that I fought and he left.
And it seems like there's like an invisible force that seems to be trying to close your mouth.
You mean the other monk from the other school that you killed and were trying to revive?
Whoa. I didn't kill anybody.
I don't think that's what they're talking about, Toby.
I don't know why I was there. By the way, I'm not a murderer.
I believe all of these people have incredibly high insights and do not believe you.
Other than that, I don't know. We haven't been here long enough to see if there's anything else missing or wrong. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Anything takes a moment, and this is not something you've seen, and Remy, this would probably feel very weird to you. He turns toward you, Remy, for a moment, and he starts extending his hand toward you and says, "What about you?" And he touches your forehead. You currently have a telepathic link to him. He will understand your thoughts.
There's just another Remy in there.
Just tries really hard to stop thinking about audience, but
Pushing audience out of his head. So it can. You now have the possibility to talk with your intention, and not necessarily have to mimic something that's there. He will hear the concept that you need, that you're trying to push forward. But you still have to think like a Kenku.
I mean, like, even me as the player, I'm like kind of like struggling with the question itself.
Well, he wants to have your opinion on all of this, on all that happened. You're the only one who hasn't talked, and he understands why.
But in which case, he at the very least would flash like because at the very least he'll like to talk about like his own experience, like not talk about, well, express his own experiences with the dream, trying to figure things out himself. Like, definitely.
So, what are the concepts that goes through Remy's mind? That usually you'd have to find something that images that concept, but now he can actually hear the concept forming in your head.
In which case, Remy, Remy kind of like projects the notes that he made, the current coins in his possession that have clearly aged, as well as the silverware.
Trying to pass which concept?
It's like it's as though he's expressing the concept of furthering his own idea that there definitely might be more of an element of time to this, and like expressing like his own desire to figure out how real this place was, if at all.
Okay. So after all of this, these concepts just pushes themselves in your mind, and finding that you do not need to find something that has already happened that to express them, he stops touching you and takes a moment to think about this. Well, there is definitely an element of time to your story. It does feel like things that traveled with you actually did travel through time. Which, by default, means that you physically did not travel through time. But your essence did. They connected to something that already happened.
Which is probably why everybody but Fisher isn't dead.
come back. Hey guys, why are there a bunch of skeletons?
You poke Ramy's skeleton and he just turns to dust because he would have died first.
Fissure is a little more rusty.
I mean, I see a few chips on the stones, but other than that, it's pretty good. How do I express this concept? Have you ever witnessed something happening? Something that you did not expect to happen? And then hear about someone for whom the very same thing happened in the very same way, but so far away they can't be connected. This might actually be what happened. You saw a possibility. One path which had on it people to whom you could connect. And for a brief moment, you lived through what they had lived, making this past your present, and in so doing, gaining the ability to interact with it as if it was your present, even though all of it had already happened. There is a
Audience is giving the blank stare that a kid does when they're advanced calculus and haven't taken a math class in 2 years.
I see that this is a lot of information to absorb. I assure you it is the same thing on our side. Many things needs to be researched, cataloged, and evaluated. But this is very interesting. Theag follows by saying, it absolutely is very intriguing. And I must admit, very few people have shared such fascinating conflict in their belief. And she looks at you, audience, when she says this. If you ever need to talk about this for answers, or maybe new questions, you can always visit me. This is my field of expertise, after all.
Do you know what gods I might have been talking about or talking to?
Well, one of them I suspect. And I suspect you, along with a very select few others, can imagine what this is. The three others. The thing with visions and dreams is that your mind will always try to present to you something in a way that you can make sense of it. It might be an exercise to make sense of it, but it nevertheless presented to you in a way that you could eventually understand yourself. It is using the vocabulary that you thought, the one that you teached your own soul to use. So you have everything you need to understand them. You might just not realize that you have.
Remy cannot relate to anything as much as he is right now.
Audience is thinking to himself, so you can't help me. That was... He's not gonna say that out loud.
One of the greater problems with everything we can do to help you is that we do not know a lot about your world. One image that you describe extends beyond your world, and for that one, yes, of course, we can tell more, but then again, I have already told you more about this one. For the three others, we would need more context of your world, as they do not seem to extend beyond it.
Okay.
At least not in a meaningful way.
Alright.
Well, that was very fascinating and very educational. You hear the gnome at the table. Oh yeah. Definitely have something to think about. Gonna have to use the full sensor array of the garden. Try and figure out if this shard is still floating around. Could be interesting.
I guess it would probably be in this moment where Raimi would just go ahead and dig into his bag and pull out his bundle of notes.
About Bahanor?
Yeah.
Oh, well, you see the gnomes. Well, that's always very interesting. Of course, I will take a look at all of them. If you don't mind, I will probably even copy them.
Oh, I have one interesting thing too.
Oh,
I say, and I'll pull out the specific image of Tasul's item, and I'll be like, "This was in the vault that we found." So, interesting. Possibly a coincidence, but possibly not. Interesting, nevertheless.
that might be interesting to investigate. That's Thayag talking. I'm not sure if if on your side the voice is different enough to understand it. That could be interesting to evaluate. She looks up. Unfortunately, I don't think we'll be able to ask him questions for a little bit of time.
He off on a mission.
She looks at Ilithane, and Ilithane just gives a nod. Of course, you still have no idea what he looks like because he always has his hood up. No, actually, I believe he isn't in the infirmary right now. An emergency transport. He was nearly killed. We'll see how this goes.
No, my master, Tasul.
Do you express this out loud?
Yeah, I mean, I do express my worry, and I mean, I feel connected to him. So
Well, in that case, if you feel concerned, he is in the infirmary with Carmita. As soon as he says that you can visit him, you can. He is the chief medical officer in here, so whatever he says goes. Do not argue with him.
okay. I'm glad he's alive.
Yeah, this is just what happens when everybody has a eating contest at White Castle.
Wasn't he? Was he going to go try and check out the Island chain? Do we remember that?
Well, you don't, but Remy does because he heard the conversation.
Okay. I knew I knew I heard it through something, but I wasn't sure if I actually knew.
Like they're your ears or somebody else's ears.
Yeah.
But yes, Remy caught a conversation the last time that you were in the command bridge to talk about different things with your entire group and the most powerful members of the garden, of the adventurers of the garden. Remy was able to overhear a conversation between Tesul and Sira. Well, unless you have questions that you believe we can answer right now, this is everything we need, and we'll do our researches as best as we can. Otherwise, as always, feel free to use everything we have and can share with you for as long as you remain here. And after that, well, good luck on any adventures you undertake. I do believe you still have one quest that hasn't been claimed for its reward, so
We will probably head out tomorrow and at least complete that.
very well. You see all of the wardens getting up one after the other, talking to one another in their own language, which only Fisher would be able to understand using Terranad. But the gnome leaves with Thayag. Ilithane leaves alone. And you find yourself in this huge, great library with only the normal members of this quarter still doing their business above. The moment that everything that's been said here ends, you suddenly see 2 warden coming in, taking things, putting them back where they're supposed to be.
I look very down right now. I'm worried about Tesul.
It'll be okay.
From your
Can't believe.
from your side, Fisher,
Mm-hmm.
because you are in the infirmary.
Oh shit, Tesul, what are you doing here?
Well, actually, he's not there when you arrive. You follow. You've never been into the infirmary before, so this is a new path for you.
Mhm.
You follow Carmita all the way to the infirmary, and you see, surprisingly, but also absolutely not surprisingly, a few gnomes in different beds being taken care of by what looks like other wardens and a few half-elves. Carmita makes you follow him all the way to a research table. And he starts looking at Terry. Looks at you. Well, he looks very dehydrated right now. And so, do you know anything that he actually enjoys or needs to drink?
His favorite seemed to be kind of like a lemon or limeade with mint in it. He can really only drink some kind of liquid with sugar.
Have you tried feeding him Coke?
And he doesn't eat, apparently. Is that what you're saying?
No, or at least not that I've witnessed. When I have given him solid food, he usually squishes it until stuff comes out, and then eats whatever comes out.
Have you tried giving him meat?
Yeah,
Did he refuse to eat it, or did he squish it down, as you say?
he squish it down or dissolve it. You can like cough up acid.
Very well. We'll need something to give him a little bit of a boost. Turns toward the warden.
I'm really, not great, as food is never something I've had to pay attention to before.
Clearly. He turns around and asks one of the warden in the construct language, which right now Terranad is not set to, but you recognize it.
I believe he is.
You're placed on construct right now?
Let me check. Perception and construct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Because I switched it back in Bahanor because I was going to try and talk to the old constructs, but then I forgot about it and figured that it wouldn't work anyway.
Okay.
But then I forgot to change it back. So
Okay. Well, then in that case, you hear him give instruction for a solution. He goes into a very biological description, which completely eludes Fisher's ability to understand what exactly he's saying, but just try and imagine
fructose stuff.
Yeah, try and imagine a doctor that majored in, I don't know, biology. Describe the perfect solution to help a creature recover. It has enzyme names, it has mineral names, it has composition of some molecules to add into it. It takes a little moment, but eventually he comes back. One of the warden comes back and gives Carmita a small container with what you would identify as a straw, but not sure how Fisher would identify it. But
Sure, there are straws.
well, there's no plastic, so
Reeds, maybe.
yeah, all right, yeah, that would work.
Looks like a pipe.
A very small, thin one. You didn't know he could make pipes this thin. And gives it to Terry for a moment. But also, he takes out a small object which radiates energy, and he just hovers it over him for a little while. And as he does, you see him regain a little bit of vigor. It does take a few minutes, maybe 5 or 10 minutes before you notice that Terry is moving a bit. Kamita looks at you and don't get your hopes up. This is very similar to a stimulant. He is not out of the wood yet, as you say. But as life comes a little bit back into him, he starts drinking from the container and the straw in front of him. After maybe another 10 minutes, you see bunches of stars and a constellation appearing in front of you.
I'd scramble into my backpack where I have the notes that explain the language and just attempt to start piecing together, but have no hope of actually.
The effort is way too great. You sort of recognize some letters. Okay, yeah, that's the equivalent of B. Okay, and that's probably a T. And then you realize you can't tell him to do this again.
Yeah.
But he seems to be drinking for now. And Carmita looks at you and says, well, as a parent, or at least as close to one as you can have, you can always remain here for as long as you feel you need it. The night will most likely be difficult. His strength has been severely depleted. And since he could not ask for help, he is also most likely extremely stressed.
Makes sense.
Cannot know the exact consequences of this, but I guess we'll have to see. And he looks like a very resilient organism, and just as he says that, you hear an alarm go off in here, in the infirmary. Very powerful alarm. And you see Carmita turn around and start talking in construct, but since you can understand them, all right, prepare a bed immediately. What state is he in? What did the orb say? Very well. The compartment over there. Now. And you just see a flash of light. And you sort of realize, oh, that's what it looks like when you come out of an emergency transport.
Mm-hmm.
And there on the stretcher is Tusul, looking drained, as if on the doorstep of being undeadified.
Yeah, I think with the alarm and flash of light, Fisher instinctively goes to whip out a sword, but then it's like, oh, I can't actually do anything in this situation. And then
Like, damn it, why didn't I
awkwardly,
take up level paladin?
yeah, awkwardly, tries to, stay out of the way as he wants to help.
You
but
hear a lot of
knows
wardens.
he is
The wardens are exchanging information, vital information, biological information, which you're not completely sure what it means. But as since you can't understand them, you're trying to glean information off of what they're saying, and you think that with a good investigation roll.
We believe in you, Fisher.
16.
Not a wisdom save.
16. All right.
Perfectly average.
No, average would be 10.
I rolled a 10.
Okay.
So,
for you, it's a good average.
yeah.
But thanks to every bonus that you have, the insight of Terran adds, and your knowledge, you glean that something tried to turn him undead. But because Nafthan are immune to being transformed into an undead, he was actually able to push this influence off. The problem is that whatever was trying to undeadify him did not let go. And he was barely able to activate the orb before falling into the ocean. They had to pull very hard to be able to extract him from whatever was pulling him. If they had not succeeded, and if he did not have this inherent immunity to be turned into an undead, he would either be dead or an undead right now.
That's terrifying. So many levels.
When Raimi did his spying, the eavesdropping thing, I'm trying to remember, did he share that with everybody? As to what Tsul was doing or being sent to do?
I believe at the time, no.
But Fisher, you do remember that unconsciously you must have catched something, because inside of your mental fortress there was a string connecting Tsul to the Misty Islands.
There was. Where did I put that? I put
I
that
gotta go to
somewhere.
bed.
Oh, yeah, all right. We're about to
Yeah.
finish, so that's all right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I think
See you
I
guys.
would
Bye.
I would stay out of the way, leaving it to the experts until yeah,
All right.
it's not the time to come in with questions.
You see them taking new machines that you've never seen before, magical artifact, placing them around him. You hear this weird thing that you don't know why, but it just keeps doing beep, beep. The sound is very weak and very distanced from one
A
another.
weird squiggly thing
Well,
on
you
one of their
don't.
weird screen things.
It doesn't look exactly as it would in our world, because it's magic and a lot of things are different. So where you would normally see a console, you might see actually an orb or a transparent plane of whatever they're using to display their information on them. Diagnostic tool doesn't look like what we have now. They look like small crystals or small orbs or a rod that looks like made out of metal. But it essentially does the same
Kryptonian
thing.
technology.
As...
It's all just weird crystals.
crystals and
Yeah, I'd just be hanging out by side of the med bay infirmary. That's what it's called.
You've honestly never seen someone that looks quite as bad as he does. Every part of him looks like it's been nearly drained completely of life. His cheek are completely dug in. You can actually see his ribs sticking out. If you couldn't understand them, you'd think he is dead. Probably completely necrofied by something. But because you can understand what they're saying, he is holding on to life. Barely.
Can I ask Terranad if he... I don't think we've ever actually seen it up close. Because I also think audience just told me that his was in the past, not actually showed it to me. Does Terranad know Tsul's artifact?
The name of it?
Yeah.
Actually, no. He's never encountered it before. He has only superficial information about it. He knows that the artifact can actually come to life, acting a bit like a pet. and it has very strong connection to everything that is divine. When you think
He
about
was
it,
fighting it with it in the Nightmare Shard, right?
yes, and it was a very potent tool against undeads, which, when you know about Naftan, makes a lot of sense that an object like this would choose a recipient like Tesul. But on its own, no, he doesn't know the name of it. He doesn't know its history. Not all objects have a very lush history with adventurers using it for grand things. Many objects have been made long ago. Their owner was killed, and they've been resting at the bottom of a dungeon somewhere for the past 2,000 years. Which is why adventurers still find these very dangerous objects and do not know at all how to use them and end up killing everyone in a 5-mile radius.
And then it ends up at the bottom of a different hole.
And they just move on through history like this.
Oh, then, yeah.
I would imagine the audience would go directly to the infirmary.
Yes, I would.
All right.
Audience.
Well, taking everything into consideration, probably the time that you tell giving the story, the time that Fisher is there talking, the time that you make your way, most likely not slowly walking, you're probably at least having a jogging speed or a brisk walking pace. Speed walking.
Got the tights on and the hat.
You'd probably get there maybe half an hour after all of this description has been given to Fisher. So you probably find Fisher in there looking after poor Terry.
Terry Crews.
But
Looking after, awkwardly hanging out, doesn't know what to do. Probably just trying to frantically spark notes an entire language.
Sparks it.
all right, this book. So this is this word, and this is this word. So this word means that, and this one. And when you arrive, Fisher is in his books, tending to a poor Terry that looks very weak.
Audience will kind of come in quietly because he knows the infirmary. He doesn't want to disturb people who are recovering. So he'll kind of come up to Fisher quietly and just be like, "Hey, did you how's Terry?" Actually, he'll be like, "How's Terry doing?"
Well, he's trying to communicate, but obviously I am not able to understand or reciprocate that, but supposedly not out of the woods yet.
I feel like he's with the best medical professionals around, so if anyone can do anything, they can.
Yeah, I definitely feel a little useless here, but Sewell showed up.
I heard. That's why I rushed down here. I heard he's in bad condition. Did you see him?
Yeah, he looked about like someone tried to turn him into a zombie.
Let's see if I know anything about that being a paladin.
Get the guys got
They were wardens were saying seems like something tried to turn him into an undead, and just the fact that he's an F then's the only reason that didn't happen.
See how much I know about that.
But still in pretty bad shape.
Alright, audience doesn't know anything about spells. That turn.
If you want to roll, I was going to say you can always roll Arcana, but since this is your predilection, you can roll Religion.
I mean, I still wouldn't know.
Okay.
It's still -1.
Even Religion?
Yeah, religion's intelligence still.
You're a paladin. That doesn't know
Audience's
about
skill
religion.
proficiencies are jock.
Yeah.
Anyway, I got a 5, so I know nothing, as I was saying.
You know that some things can transform people into undead? Some magic can, some monster can, but that's about as far as your knowledge go about this.
Audience heard undead and started picturing himself smiting them during that class period.
Yeah.
Paying attention.
And
It's like,
even
The
right
cool
now,
magic stuff I can do is really good against them. That's all I need to know.
even right now, you're surprising yourself, thinking, "Oh man, I really would love to be in an environment with a lot of undead with my mace." Damn, this, my friend, my master. Oh, push it away, push it away.
Yeah. Well, that's no. Audience actually would react to that because in his mind, that'd be one of the worst things that could happen to you. Would be turned to an undead. I'm like, so I'll be like, that's terrifying. I'm glad he was able to resist it. Hopefully, he can recover. Did you hear any information of what might have caused it or who did it?
Just trying to remember what I'd literally just listened to. I don't think so. Something happened.
Terranad would, in this moment, not be too mean to you about this and say, he was in the ocean. I remember hearing them say about this.
Yeah. He fell into the ocean. That's where he was emergency teleported in from, but they didn't say anything about where.
Well, knowing to soul whatever it was, it must have had to be insanely powerful to take him out that easily, especially with his object that fights against undead.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have a little bit more understanding about his object, you would even know that his object would have even tried to protect him, adding an additional layer. Whatever did this is either an excessively powerful creature or a very potent spell.
Yeah.
This might be a little meta knowledge connecting the dots because Remy didn't tell me about the Misty Eyes thing. But seeing as I heard, I think I found this in the Bahanor library, where the what was it? The dwarves sailed to the Misty Isles and were turned into more undead to protect the Misty Isles.
Oh.
Can I make that connection? That maybe this would be something powerful enough to try and turn him into an undead?
Yes.
Or is that something that I've heard of happening outside of that specific situation?
No, actually, you haven't heard anything that specific. That information that you found is probably the only instance that you that you can confirm is something that happened. At least it happened 1,500 years ago.
That's that was interesting. In the Bahanor library, I found a mention of an expedition that ran into the Misty Isles, where the whole boat was turned into undead and made to keep patrolling around the water That's the only thing I've ever seen before that's actually tried to transform somebody into an undead that's not already dead.
I see. I'll look over at you. I'll be like, There's obviously something going on around these Misty Isles. They keep popping up, but I think that that's, from what I've seen and what I've heard, that's not something at least we can worry about right now.
That we're ready to deal with.
Yeah, that we're ready to deal with.
Yeah. The other interesting thing is with this story being in the Bahamut Library, you said Tasul's artifact was in the vault.
I did. Yes.
What are the chances that somebody that survived that encounter and possibly is the one that wrote that story wielded or tried to wield that artifact against the undead there?
It's possible. Again,
it's probably a bit of a stretch.
We don't know how the objects. They said they just appeared from different shards and different places into this vault. So it's not like someone gave it here, but I mean, it's. We know it's one of the objects that survived, at least. So it's possible.
I was just thinking because it seems its specialty is dealing with undead.
They were fighting. They were fighting Eldritch, though, not undead.
They were, but they weren't using it. If it was in the vault, right?
No, I don't. Again,
I'm just thinking it would be interesting if this was the second time Tasul's artifact had come into contact with that kind of undead.
It would be, but unfortunately, unless you have some knowledge I don't know how to communicate with object. Or I can communicate with my object. Perhaps Tasul can communicate with him, which I guess is something we could ask him. But again, we would have to wait for him to hopefully recover.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking.
From inside of you, Fisher, Terranad adds to all of this. Well, depending on what urgency you want to put in all of your adventures, you do have one additional source of information. Civ has openly said that he comes from there.
He has. He doesn't like talking about it a whole lot. Or maybe that's just me reading into his general demeanor.
Or to be honest, he doesn't look like he likes a whole lot of things.
Yeah, exactly. But so there's too much going on. We'll plan stuff in the morning.
Are you saying Are you saying this out loud to Terranad or to me? Okay.
I mean, if it's out loud to Terranad, it's out loud to everybody else.
Audience, I guess I'll look at you and just be like, did Terranad give you a suggestion?
Yeah. He's
okay.
reminding me of Civ's history there.
Right, he did mention that. Well, yeah. Again, I think let's just focus on the small, easy quest we have now, and then once we've completed these series of quests and we come back to the garden, we can perhaps explore more of these options. However, we also have a lot on our plate with it right now, which is trying to even figure out this prophecy and other things. This is something we should maybe, again, put on the back burner until we've at least gained some more strength or can do more about it.
And in roughly 20 days, you have your event.
Yeah, which I want to go meet with the silver dragon before.
So, that also.
And
like I said, a lot going on.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, this might be optimistic thinking, but what are the chances we've ticked off one of the parts of the prophecy?
I have no idea.
My hat.
Low.
Do you think there? I mean, there are a lot of feathers on it.
I'm gonna go with low.
Like I said, optimistic.
lot
It's a
of
very
feathers on it.
stylish hat, Fisher. And I'm glad that I suggested you get it and I picked it out for you. I think it's an excellent fashion choice. The fact that it's the key to like a large prophecy that could affect the world, not high.
Mhm.
And that's when Fisher plucks a feather from the hat and dubs it macaroni, and it fills with a magical light.
Amazing. Yeah, you should probably get some sleep.
Yes. Alright. I don't think I'll be able to.
You could probably
let-
help more
Yeah.
here more than I can, but they can probably still. They seem to know what they're doing.
I will be honest with you. If he was almost turned into an undead, I do not have the means to repair or heal him from that. I mean, I guess technically I could help, but I'm sure they have multitudes of the same thing that I can do. So, nor do I think that I will be able to meet with him, at least for a few days, if you were in the shape that he stated. But quickly, I guess I'll let if there's anyone nearby, I'll let them know when he wakes, to let him know that I stopped by and I'm worried about him. But if when he wakes. But then I'd probably head back to go to bed.
If you talk to one of the warden will look at you. Says, "We will warn you, of course, but I would not be extremely optimistic. His inherent ability to resist being turned into an undead put him in a very difficult situation where whatever did this tried to keep pushing against an ability that is ingrained in its very fabric, baked in by the gods who made them. So the toll he did not pay by becoming an undead, he might have paid it with its lifespan. We'll see."
Alright, so we'll just kind of nod and then very sadly walk back to, you know what? I need that last ale that was promised me. Go get my last ale, then I'm going to bed. My friend. So sad.
Oh, I didn't tell you when we started. The world keeps moving while you're adventuring, and the others adventurers also are doing things.
Audience is like about to just go call Ollie. You're alive, right?
You're alive. Hello?
Everybody's dying.
They're all dying.
Like, I don't like. Just to be clear, you're not ghosting me, right? Or are you ghosting me?
I mean, you can ghost me
How
so long as
literally
you
are you ghosting?
don't... There are levels of ghosting that I'm good with. So, on your way to the tavern, are you actually calling on me, Holly, to see if she's alive?
Hey, babe,
I
just
didn't
need to hear your
see her
voice.
tonight. I didn't see her
need to hear
tonight. I'm
your
like,
voice.
she's dead. Anyone I didn't see is dead. They're all dead.
Well,
Can we fall asleep on call tonight? I don't think I
Can we fall asleep on call tonight? I just want to fall asleep to your voice.
well, Well, audience can always be slightly reassured by going to the quest board, because any adventure that are dead are placed in the...
Yeah. I mean, I'm headed to the tavern anyway. Actually, audience probably would check it because now he's paranoid.
There are no new dead on the board when you get there. Ami is still alive.
That's good.
However, Tasul's name is blinking.
Soul's name has a question mark next to it.
All right.
Is
so,
he dead?
So this feels like an interesting moment to finish this episode with audience entering the tavern, asking for his drink, looking up, and then making its way to the quest board, and while distractingly drinking, looking at everyone that is there, feeling reassured that none of those he considered friends or close friend that he hasn't seen tonight are on the board. And as this wave of, well, at least nothing bad has happened while I was away, you turn around and you see Core approaching you. And this is
My name's about to be on the board.
Now, audience turns around and goes the other way really fast.
Do something brave today, then run like hell.
Just
How does Remy do that thing where he just disappears?
I'm just like, drink.
And this is the perfect moment to end this.
Best case scenario, you get drank under the table.
Did you really think that it would forget that you had a reason to come back? And Core was there.
That's fair.
I would have went to the tavern with him.
Okay. Yeah, well, while all of this happened, what did Tobiashi and Remy do meanwhile? Did you follow audience? Did you went to the tavern and wait for everyone to come back? I'm just curious.
No, I went to the tavern.
Okay.
In between me going to the tavern, I blew up that rock that I couldn't blow up before. And yeah.
All right, you took a little detour into the arboretum to get your revenge on the rock.
Yeah. And now it's just a blown up rock right there. And then I go back to the tavern. And I would have ordered everybody a drink for when they got here, if they got here, whoever's coming.
All right.
Since I owe them a drink.
Yeah. Well, Fisher's in the hospital taking care of Terry. Audience feels very low. Jorg probably followed Tobiashi and is sharing a drink with you. So, what did Remy do?
I think it's too late to say that he would have followed audience at any point because there was literally information Remy could have given if he was there.
Well, audience did run out. But we can easily say that you caught up to him as he was coming out. There is a good distance between the infirmary and the tavern. You could have talked.
Actually, you know what? Since we'll just go ahead and say that in the interim, since he is now nowhere near the tavern and anybody that he stole from, he'll just go ahead and open those pouches now. That's what he was doing in the interim time.
Okay.
It's like I know where audience is. I can catch up to him when he leaves.
So you were distractingly making your way to where you knew audience would be while you were opening all those interesting 3 gifts. All right. Well, like I said,
That's at least how I'm choosing to justify the time lapse anyway.
that's all right. Like I said, I realized that maybe I should have asked you if you wanted to follow him. I just took it for granted that audience would not do this he wouldn't practically jog, maybe run to where where Tessul was. I don't know. Okay, maybe. Yeah, I thought about it later. Maybe Remy would try to follow him, but then again, but I didn't expect.
I created my own excuse, so
I didn't expect a long conversation after, and yeah, you probably could have been able to add a few things there. All right. So, thank you for watching. Thank you for being there. I hope you had a very pleasant evening. I hope you will be back for next episode on next Wednesday or Friday if you're watching this on the rebroadcast. And as always, if you enjoyed the show, you can support the stream by following us on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. You can also support the stream by making a donation, becoming a Patreon, or subscribing on Twitch, or simply by spreading the word of our channel. Because the more of you there will be, the more of you there will be. Maybe in the channel also, and people to share, make fun of us, give the answers to to the players as they're trying to figure the puzzles out. Who knows? And as I said, thank you very much for watching. See you again next time on Wednesday or Friday. And as always, stay safe and stay healthy. Good night.
Good night.
Penny.